MMA Boxing Talk here. I want to talk about Khabib Nurmagomedov. He recently threatened the UFC, either give me a title shot or I'll never fight in the UFC again. He tweeted that out. I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago. It's not the right approach to take. We saw Jose Aldo do that most recently. That didn't work out too well for him. He's a couple weeks back, whatever it was, he said, well, I'm under contract, so I guess I have to keep fighting, fight whoever they give me. The same thing's gonna happen with Khabib, and I understand, people are pissed. He's pissed. He got two contract offer sheets to fight Eddie Alvarez for the title, but he's got to realize and understand that he was just a pawn in the matter. It doesn't mean that that's the UFC wanted Khabib. No, no, no. They wanted to get Conor McGregor to sign the dotted line, maybe take a little extra or take a little less money in the fight against Eddie Alvarez. So they just used that to put a little bit of pressure on Conor McGregor to accept. Um, Khabib has to understand that it's not like the UFC said yes. You know, they did say that to his face, but there was more to it than just that. Now, Khabib is the number one contender, despite being extremely inactive the past few years. Khabib Nurmagomedov has had two fights in the past 31 months. Since April of 2014, he's had two fights. That's 31 months. And this guy really deserves a title shot? Really? When you have a guy in Tony Ferguson, who's on a 9-fight win streak, who's been extremely inactive. Sorry, Tony Ferguson has been extremely active during that period, that 31 months where Khabib had two fights. I'd like to see how many fights Tony Ferguson had. Injuries happen, I get that, but all fighters have injuries. All fighters. Some choose to pull out of fights multiple times in cases like Nurmagomedov and Aldo. And other fighters will fight through the pain and push themselves and still take the fight. We saw that, believe it or not, whether you want to buy it or not, Conor McGregor against Chad Mendes wasn't 100%. 2-3 months before he was supposed to fight Aldo, but he pulled out. Mendes replaced him. 2-3 months before he fought Mendes, McGregor retweaked his knee injury. His knee was not at 100%, and you're facing a wrestler. Mind you, he only knew that 10 days out of the fight, but Conor McGregor don't give a fuck. He's going to fight whoever, whenever, and that's why, he's not all talk. And yes, he talks a lot. He talks too much, but he shows up no matter what. And that's what Khabib does not do. And Khabib does not deserve the title shot right now. He has to fight Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson deserves the title shot more than Khabib, straight up. Inactivity alone puts Khabib out of contention for that. 2 fights in 31 months. Tony Ferguson has been so active lately, and yeah, you're going to say, well, Khabib just beat Michael Johnson, and Michael Johnson beat Tony Ferguson. Well, that was over 4 years ago, and Tony Ferguson is a different fighter. He has more confidence now. He has a tremendous resume under his belt now. A lot better resume than Khabib. Say what you want, but the RDA fight, Tony Ferguson, just recently in Mexico at high altitude, dominated RDA on the feet like no one's ever seen someone do that to RDA. Yes, Eddie Alvarez, he caught him. One would say maybe he got lucky and finished RDA. He didn't put him out completely. But Tony Ferguson picked him apart. Put a pace too high for RDA to keep. And yes, Khabib's not that type of fighter. But Khabib, it was a 3-round fight in North America, not at high altitude. A 5-round fight is more impressive. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Not to mention, RDA was not the fighter he was. In 2014, when Khabib fought him, RDA improved tremendously since then. He's still a better fighter today after losing 2 in a row than what he was so many years back against Khabib Nurmagomedov. He already had a bunch of losses when Khabib fought him anyway. So that's why the UFC has to make Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. You have a lot of fans who aren't as vocal, who aren't as fanboyism, who aren't as bandwagoners. Because Tony Ferguson don't bitch and complain and bitch and moan and scream at Dana White between rounds and make a scene like a fucking idiot. And I understand he's pissed. He was used as a pawn, but get over it. It's business. It's just business. So anyway, it's a bit of a rant, but this has to happen. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's a tremendous fight. You got so many people saying, "Oh, well, that's a good way to have the two best fighters kill each other and then face Conor." Conor's taking a break anyway. What's happening with this featherweight division? Is he going to defend the title or is he going to drop it? He has to decide for one. He's going to take a break. So, have this fight in the meantime. Khabib just fought. He just has an easy fight. He should be ready to go again. I know. I saw Tony Ferguson training already. He just had a 5-round war, which he decisively dominated. 200 punches to 126. He landed at 200 punches at high altitude, Tony Ferguson. If Khabib is the real deal, and I'll give him all the credit if he is. I truly will. But if he's the real deal, he's got to get past Tony Ferguson first, in my opinion. And I don't know if he can do that. So I just want to put this video out. I am campaigning hard for this fight. I think it's a tremendous fight. I think it's a great fight for the fans. It's not that often we get to see a number 1 and 2 contender battle it out for the title shot. We just saw that more recently. The last one I can think of, Roy McDonald versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It was a tremendous mental chess match. 5 rounds. And Ferguson Khabib will be a lot more exciting than Thompson McDonald was. And I enjoyed that fight. But it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. But 2 fights in 31 months is way too inactive for a title shot. Especially when you got Tony Ferguson, an absolute animal, an absolute beast. They were scheduled to fight twice, Khabib and Tony, anyway. So let's schedule them for the 3rd time. 3rd time's a charm. Let's go. If you like the video, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter at MMA Boxing Talk 1. Peace.